There's a town in Colorado where the median home price is under $50,000. Not a cabin with no roof, not a condemned shack at the edge of a cliff. A real house in the mountains, with elk in the backyard and a sky so clear at night it looks photoshopped. And it's cheaper than a pickup truck. America's supposed to be unaffordable now, right? Skyrocketing rents, bidding wars, people sleeping in their cars. But what nobody's putting on the housing market headlines is the other America, the one tucked into valleys and up against ridgelines, where you can still buy a home for the price of a decent used car. And we found 18 of them. Let's break it down. Let's start in the Appalachian foothills, where Williamsburg, Kentucky sits right at the edge of Daniel Boone National Forest and doesn't apologize for being affordable. The median home price here hovers around $45,000. That's not a typo. You can buy a 3-bedroom house in this town for less than what most people in Los Angeles spend on a year of rent. Williamsburg is a small city of roughly 5,000 people tucked in Whitley County in southeastern Kentucky. It's got the Cumberland River running nearby, forested hills on every side, and a surprisingly lively downtown for its size. University of the Cumberlands is based here, which means the town has more going on than you'd expect. Coffee shops, local restaurants, and a population that's younger than you'd guess. The cost of living across the board is extraordinarily low. Groceries, utilities, gas, everything runs well below the national average. Now, is this a booming job market? No. The economy in this part of Kentucky has faced serious challenges for decades, and that's a big part of why housing stayed cheap. But if you work remotely, or you're retired, or you're an artist looking for cheap space to create, Williamsburg offers something that feels almost illegal in 2025. Actual affordability in a genuinely beautiful natural setting. And wait until you hear about the next town, because it takes everything Williamsburg is doing and adds one thing nobody saw coming: a national park right at the front door. West Virginia is quietly one of the most overlooked states for affordable mountain living, and Hinton might be its best kept secret. Median home prices in Hinton sit around $30,000 to $40,000. The town of roughly 2,000 people is perched above the New River Gorge, the same gorge that became a national park in 2020, which means the scenery here is literally federally protected and breathtaking. The New River, despite its name, is one of the oldest rivers in North America. Whitewater rafting, rock climbing, and hiking are all within miles of your front door. Hinton itself has a historic downtown with buildings dating back to the railroad era of the late 1800s. It was once a thriving hub for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, and you can still see that architectural history walking down the streets. There's a train station that's been preserved and a town that still has its bones, even if the economic activity has slowed significantly over the decades. This is a town that requires you to be honest with yourself. If you need a Target and a Starbucks and reliable cell service everywhere, Hinton will frustrate you. But if you want to live inside a postcard for the price of a Honda Civic, this is it. The next town on our list is also in Appalachia, but it's going to surprise you because it's actually growing, and the prices still haven't caught up. Straddling the Virginia-West Virginia border, Bluefield is a twin city situation where the Virginia side has been quietly attracting new residents who have figured out what the internet hasn't yet loudly announced. Median home prices on the Virginia side of Bluefield run around $50,000 to $60,000, which, in the context of a state where Northern Virginia averages over $500,000 per home, feels like a different planet. The town sits at an elevation of around 2,500 feet in the Appalachian Highlands, which means the summers are dramatically cooler than the rest of Virginia. The town used to advertise its naturally air-conditioned climate and would hand out free lemonade on days the temperature hit 90 degrees, something that almost never happened. Bluefield has a small hospital, a community college, decent infrastructure, and the kind of small-town grid where everything you need is genuinely close. Tooele County surrounding it has hundreds of miles of trails, rivers, and forested ridgelines. The job market has historically been tied to coal, and the region has faced the economic pressures that came with that industry's decline. But broadband investment in rural Virginia has been accelerating, and remote workers are quietly starting to discover what retirees have known for years. Speaking of cool summers and mountain air, the next town takes elevation seriously. We're talking nearly 5,000 feet up. Here's where the list starts to feel almost unfair to the rest of the country. Leadville, Colorado sits at an elevation of 10,152 feet above sea level, making it the highest incorporated city in the United States. And for years, it was also one of the most affordable places to live in the entire state of Colorado, a state where housing prices have exploded in the last decade. Median home prices in Leadville have risen from the deeply cheap zone, but still come in significantly below Colorado averages, ranging from roughly $150,000 to $220,000, depending on the year and the property. That's more expensive than entries further down this list, but we're comparing it to Colorado, where the median statewide sits well above $400,000. Leadville has a rich history as a silver mining boomtown from the 1880s. At its peak, it was one of the largest cities in Colorado, home to opera houses, grand hotels, and people like Doc Holliday and Horace Tabor. Today, it's a town of about 3,000 people surrounded by 14,000-foot peaks, including Mount Elbert, the highest point in the Rocky Mountains. The town draws athletes, hikers, skiers, and mountain bikers. It's only 20 miles from the ski resort of Copper Mountain and not much further from Vail. The Leadville Trail 100, one of the most famous ultramarathons in the world, runs right through town every August. Is it remote? Yes. Is winter intense at that altitude? Absolutely. But for a certain kind of person, this place is everything, and the price is still a fraction of what you'd pay to live in the ski towns nearby. Up next is a town that doesn't have the altitude record, but it does have something Leadville doesn't: an arts scene that punches way above its weight class. Silver City is a legitimately strange and wonderful place, and it's been underpriced for decades. Median home prices here sit in the $90,000 to $150,000 range, low by any measure, and jaw-dropping when you factor in what the town actually offers. Silver City is located in the Mogollon Mountains of southwestern New Mexico at an elevation of about 5,900 feet. The climate is mild, the summers are cooler than the desert floor, and the area gets actual rainfall thanks to the monsoon season. The town has a year-round arts community. Western New Mexico University is based here, which keeps the population intellectually alive. There are independently owned restaurants serving food that would cost 3 times as much in Santa Fe. There are galleries, live music venues, coffee shops, and a historic downtown that somehow looks like it belongs in a more famous and expensive place. The surrounding Gila National Forest is enormous, over 3 million acres, and contains the Gila Wilderness, the first designated wilderness area in United States history. The Gila Cliff Dwellings National Monument is nearby, preserving ancient structures built by the Mogollon people over 700 years ago. Silver City also has a remarkably progressive and open-minded community for a rural New Mexico town. It attracts artists, retirees, outdoor adventurers, and people escaping coastal prices who want to actually feel like they landed somewhere with a soul. Next up is a town that also has serious soul, but it's in a completely different part of the country, and it's been hiding in plain sight for 20 years. Mena, Arkansas is tucked into the Ouachita Mountains in the western part of the state, and it represents everything this list is about. Median home prices in Mena hover around $70,000 to $90,000. The town has about 5,000 residents and sits in Polk County at the foot of Rich Mountain, the second highest peak in Arkansas. Queen Wilhelmina State Park sits right at the top of the mountain and draws visitors from across the south year-round. The Ouachita National Forest wraps around the town on multiple sides. Hundreds of miles of trails, including the famous Ouachita National Recreation Trail, start practically in town. Elk have been reintroduced to the area and regularly wander through the region. The Cossatot River, one of the most challenging whitewater rivers in the country, runs not far from Mena. The town itself is a working southern small town. Hardware stores, diners, local churches, and Friday night football. It's not trying to be hip. It's not courting Instagram influencers. It's just a real place where people live and where the mountains are genuinely beautiful and where you can buy a house for less than most people's car loans. The next entry is also in the south, but it's got a mountain town vibe that surprises almost everyone who visits for the first time. The name doesn't help its reputation. But Hazard, Kentucky, is a town that deserves a longer look. Median home prices sit in the $40,000 to $70,000 range. The town of around 4,000 people is the county seat of Perry County, deep in the coal country of eastern Kentucky. It's surrounded by the forested ridges of the Cumberland Plateau, and the scenery is legitimately stunning, particularly in autumn when the hardwood forests turn every color at once. Hazard has a hospital, a regional airport, Eastern Kentucky University's Hazard campus, and a downtown that has been the subject of genuine revitalization efforts in recent years. The town has tried hard to rebrand itself and attract remote workers, going so far as to launch programs offering cash incentives to people who relocate and work remotely. The challenges here are real. The region has faced decades of economic hardship tied to the coal industry's decline, and poverty rates remain high. But the natural environment is extraordinary. Housing is some of the cheapest in the country, and the people who love this region love it with a fierceness that's hard to explain until you've seen the hills at sunrise. Up next is a town that looks like a movie set, and somehow the prices still haven't caught up to the scenery. Montana is on everyone's radar now. Bozeman went from affordable to wildly expensive in about 5 years. Missoula followed, but Anaconda still flying under the radar. Median home prices in Anaconda sit around $100,000 to $140,000. Remarkable for a state where housing markets in the more famous towns have become completely inaccessible. The town of about 9,000 people sits in Deer Lodge County, about 25 miles west of Butte, surrounded by the Anaconda Range of the Rocky Mountains. Anaconda was built by the copper mining industry, specifically by Marcus Daly and the Anaconda Copper Mining Company, which was once one of the largest corporations in the world. The famous Anaconda Smelter Stack, a 278-foot brick smokestack, still stands as a state park landmark. The company left a complicated environmental legacy that the town has grappled with for decades, but Superfund cleanup efforts have made significant progress. What Anaconda has going for it right now is access. Discovery Ski Area is literally right outside town, one of the most affordable ski resorts in Montana. The Pintler Wilderness is close. Georgetown Lake, one of the prettiest lakes in the state, is a short drive away. Fly fishing, hiking, snowmobiling, the outdoor access here is elite. For a Montana lifestyle at a fraction of Bozeman prices, Anaconda is one of the most compelling options in the state. The next town has something Anaconda doesn't: a warm weather side to its personality that makes year-round living genuinely comfortable. Arizona's mountains don't get the credit they deserve. Everyone pictures the flat desert, but Globe, at nearly 4,000 feet in the Pinal Mountains, is proof that Arizona does mountains, and does them cheaply. Median home prices in Globe run around $90,000 to $130,000. The town of about 7,500 people sits in Gila County, east of the Phoenix Metro, but far enough away to feel like a completely different world. The surrounding Tonto National Forest covers nearly 3 million acres and is one of the most visited national forests in the country. Globe has a genuine historic district. Copper mining built this place in the late 1800s, and many of the old downtown buildings are still standing and occupied. The Beshbagawa Archaeological Park preserves ruins from the Salado people who lived in the area about 700 years ago. The town has local restaurants, a small-town Main Street feel, and a tight-knit community that's been here for generations. The climate is dramatically more pleasant than the Phoenix Valley. Summers are hot, but not the extreme heat of lower elevations, and winters are mild enough that snow is a novelty rather than a burden. The proximity to Phoenix, about 90 minutes, means that people who need to commute occasionally or get to an airport aren't completely isolated. Globe is an underrated gem in a state full of overpriced real estate, and it's one of the most livable options on this entire list. Next is a town where the price tags are even lower, and the mountains are arguably more dramatic. West Virginia keeps showing up on this list because West Virginia keeps being genuinely cheap in genuinely beautiful places. Clarksburg is the county seat of Harrison County in north central West Virginia, with a metro population of around 60,000 and median home prices firmly in the $60,000 to $90,000 range. The city sits along the West Fork River, surrounded by the rolling Appalachian Hills, and it punches above its size in terms of infrastructure. It has a federal courthouse, a VA medical center, a historic downtown with architecture that recalls its once prosperous past, and decent broadband by St. Virginia standards. Clarksburg was the birthplace of Stonewall Jackson, and the town takes that history seriously. It also has one of the more celebrated Italian-American immigrant communities in the country. Waves of Italian immigrants came to work the mines and glass factories in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and their culinary influence is still felt in local restaurants. Pepperoni rolls, a West Virginia staple, were literally invented in this region by Italian miners. The surrounding area offers excellent hiking, fishing, and access to the Monongahela National Forest. The town is more urban than most entries on this list, which makes it appealing to people who want mountain-adjacent living with more services and amenities nearby. Up next, we're heading to a state that most people wouldn't associate with cheap real estate at all. But this particular town has stayed quietly affordable while everything around it exploded. Marion sits in McDowell County in the Blue Ridge Mountains of western North Carolina, and it represents a kind of affordability that feels increasingly rare in a state where Asheville has become another unaffordable destination. Median home prices in Marion sit around $100,000 to $130,000. Low by any North Carolina standard, and extraordinarily low given the scenery. The town of about 8,000 people is surrounded by mountain ridgelines, sits along the Catawba River, and has quick access to Pisgah National Forest and the South Mountain State Park. Marion is close enough to Asheville, about 40 minutes, to benefit from its proximity without absorbing its costs. It's the kind of town where the downtown is unpretentious, the people are genuine, and the mountains are everywhere you look. The Blue Ridge Parkway runs not far from Marion, meaning some of the most iconic mountain drives in America are practically in the backyard. Trout fishing in local streams, mountain biking on trail systems, and fall foliage that draws visitors from hundreds of miles away. The outdoor life here is exceptional. McDowell County has faced economic challenges, but tourism-adjacent growth and the influx of remote workers discovering western North Carolina has started to create opportunity. Marion is catching that wave early. The next town is in a different mountain range entirely, and it's surrounded by one of the most unusual landscapes in the American West. Utah's housing market has gotten brutal. Salt Lake City, Park City, Provo, all expensive, but Tooele, sitting in its own valley west of the Oquirrh Mountains, about 35 miles from Salt Lake City, has held on to relative affordability longer than almost anywhere else in the state. Median home prices in Tooele run in the $200,000 to $260,000 range, more expensive than most entries on this list, but context matters enormously here. You are 35 minutes from a major American city, surrounded by mountains, and paying prices that feel like a different era in a state where most metro-adjacent towns have blown well past $400,000. Tooele County is enormous and has a striking, otherworldly geography. The Bonneville Salt Flats are here, where land speed records are broken. The Great Salt Lake is nearby. The Wasatch Range rises dramatically to the east, and multiple ski resorts, including Snowbird, Alta, and Brighton, are within about an hour's drive. The town itself has grown significantly in the last decade and now has genuine suburban infrastructure. Grocery stores, restaurants, schools, and healthcare facilities. It's not a tiny isolated outpost anymore. It's a real commuter community that happens to be one of the last affordable footholds near Salt Lake. If you need the amenities of a big metro but can't afford to live in one, Tooele might be the most practical option on this entire list. The next entry is smaller, more remote, and far more dramatic, but the price tags will make your jaw drop. Ely is one of the most remote small cities in the contiguous United States, and it might also be one of the most affordable places to own a mountain home anywhere in the country. Median home prices in Ely hover between $60,000 and $90,000. The city of about 4,000 people sits in White Pine County in east central Nevada at an elevation of about 6,400 feet in the shadow of the Shell Creek and Egan mountain ranges. It's surrounded by Great Basin National Park, which contains Nevada's only glacier, and the ancient bristlecone pine trees. some of the oldest living organisms on the planet. Ely was a copper and silver mining town, and the Nevada Northern Railway Museum here is one of the finest preserved historic railroad sites in the entire country. They still run steam locomotive excursions. The town has a few casinos, a hospital, a state park, and enough infrastructure to get by. It's genuinely isolated. The nearest city of an size is hours away, but the people who live here choose this life deliberately and fiercely. The skies above Ely are some of the darkest in the country. The Great Basin region has almost no light pollution, and on a clear night, the Milky Way is so bright it casts shadows. If you've spent your whole life in a city and never seen a truly dark sky, standing outside Ely will change something in you permanently. Next up is a town that traded mining history for something completely different, and pulled it off better than anyone expected. Bisbee shouldn't work. By any logical analysis, a former copper mining town at 5,300 feet in the mountains of southeastern Arizona, an hour from the Mexican border, with minimal economic drivers, should be struggling. Instead, it became one of the most unique small towns in America. Median home prices in Bisbee range from $110,000 to $170,000. Steep relative to some entries here, but remarkable for what Bisbee actually delivers. The town of about 5,000 people tumbles down the canyon walls of the Mule Mountains in a way that looks physically impossible. Houses are stacked on top of each other. Stairways serve as streets. The whole place was built by miners in the 1880s who needed to put housing wherever there was space, and the result is architecture unlike anything else in America. Bisbee became an arts town in the 1970s when artists discovered cheap real estate in an abandoned mining landscape and moved in. That community never fully left. Today, Bisbee has more art galleries, live music venues, and independently owned restaurants per capita than towns 10 times its size. The Copper Queen Hotel has been operating since 1902 and is famously said to be haunted. The town hosts festivals, markets, and events year-round. The climate is one of the best in Arizona. Cool enough at elevation to escape the brutal summer heat of Phoenix or Tucson, warm enough to be comfortable most of the year, and positioned in a Sky Island mountain range that creates genuinely lush vegetation for the Southwest. If personality matters as much as price to you, Bisbee competes with anything on this list. The next town is younger in personality, bigger in size, and set against a mountain backdrop so iconic you've probably seen it in photographs without knowing the name of the place. Twin Falls doesn't always get classified as a mountain town because it sits on a high plateau rather than in a valley between peaks. But at an elevation of nearly 4,000 feet, flanked by the Snake River Canyon and within striking distance of multiple mountain ranges, it earns its place here, especially because the housing prices have stayed surprisingly reasonable compared to the Boise explosion. Median home prices in Twin Falls sit in the $220,000 to $270,000 range, higher than much of this list, but Twin Falls is a legitimate city of nearly 50,000 people with a full range of services, a regional medical center, a college, and a real economy. The College of Southern Idaho anchors steady employment and educational opportunity. The outdoor access is extraordinary. Shoshone Falls, sometimes called the Niagara of the West, sits within city limits. The Sawtooth Mountains and Sun Valley are within a couple of hours. Twin Falls has grown meaningfully in the last 10 years as people fleeing California and Boise prices discovered it, but compared to most western cities of comparable size and access, it remains undervalued. Housing costs are still roughly $100,000 below the national median for homes with equivalent features and location quality. The next town is the one that people in the know have been quietly talking about for the last 5 years, and the numbers still feel almost impossible. Colorado's San Luis Valley is one of the most unusual landscapes in North America. A high-altitude desert basin ringed by some of the most dramatic mountain ranges on the continent, including the Sangre de Cristo Mountains to the east and the San Juan Mountains to the west. Alamosa sits in the heart of it. Median home prices in Alamosa run from around $130,000 to $180,000. Extraordinary for Colorado, a state that has become synonymous with unaffordable housing. The city of about 10,000 60,000 people, is the largest in the San Luis Valley and serves as its commercial and educational hub. Adams State University is based here and gives the town an intellectual and cultural energy that you don't always find in rural Colorado communities. The Great Sand Dunes National Park, where the tallest dunes in North America rise up against the snow-capped Sangre de Cristo Mountains, is less than 40 minutes away. The Rio Grande runs through the valley. The Blanca Peak Massif, which contains 4 of Colorado's famous 14ers, dominates the skyline to the east. Hot springs are within driving distance in multiple directions. Wolf Creek Ski Area, which gets more snow than almost any resort in Colorado, is about an hour away. Alamosa has cold winters. The valley is famous for temperature inversions that trap cold air and can produce some of the lowest temperatures recorded in the lower 48. But for people who want a full Colorado mountain lifestyle at prices that don't require selling a kidney, Alamosa is genuinely special. 2 spots left. The next town has been on affordable living lists for years and still hasn't priced itself out of reach. And the reason why is a story worth telling. Pocatello sits at the edge of the Portneuf Range in southeastern Idaho, where the Rocky Mountains meet the Snake River Plain, and it offers a combination of affordability, outdoor access, and actual urban infrastructure that is almost impossible to find anywhere else in the American West. Median home prices in Pocatello sit in the $120,000 to $220,000 range, low for Idaho, and remarkably low for a city of 56,000 people with a major research university, a teaching hospital, and reasonable connectivity to larger metros. Idaho State University is based here and drives steady economic activity, healthcare employment, and cultural programming year-round. The skiing is real. Pebble Creek Ski Area is just outside town and provides legit terrain without the Vail or Sun Valley price tag attached to it. The Caribou-Targhee National Forest is nearby. The city is within driving distance of Yellowstone, Grand Teton National Park, and the world-class fly fishing of the Henry's Fork and South Fork of the Snake River. Pocatello has the bones of a larger city, walkable neighborhoods, a revitalized downtown, historic architecture, a music and arts scene tied to the university, but prices that reflect a place still operating outside the hype cycle. That may not last much longer as people continue to flee Idaho's already expensive Treasure Valley. But right now, Pocatello is one of the best value cities in the entire Mountain West. And now, the #1 pick. This one is going to make people who've been sleeping on it feel something complicated. Butte, Montana is the answer to the question nobody thought to ask. What if you could live in an authentic, historically rich, architecturally stunning Montana mountain city for the price of a used car? Median home prices in Butte sit in the $120,000 to $160,000 range. In Montana, where Bozeman and Missoula now average over $400,000 and $500,000 respectively, this is nothing short of remarkable. The city of 35,000 people sits at an elevation of 5,500 feet in the Rocky Mountains of southwestern Montana, surrounded by the Continental Divide. Butte is not a theme park version of a western town. It is the real thing, in all of its complicated, battered, magnificent glory. It was once one of the most important cities in the American West. At its peak in the early 20th century, it was the largest city between Chicago and San Francisco. The copper mines under Butte produced more wealth than almost any other place in North America. Marcus Daly, William Clark, and the Anaconda Copper Mining Company built fortunes here that reshaped American history. That history is still visible on every block of Uptown Butte, which has the largest National Historic Landmark District in the United States by number of buildings. Victorian mansions, ornate copper-era commercial buildings, old Union halls, and the Berkeley Pit, a massive open pit copper mine that is now a Superfund site and also one of the most striking industrial landscapes you will ever see. All coexist in a city that has seen everything and survived all of it. Butte has one of the most fierce and unusual local identities in America. It is proudly Irish Catholic, proudly working class, proudly weird. The St. Patrick's Day celebration here draws tens of thousands of people to a city that is not remotely equipped to handle them, and everyone loves every chaotic minute of it. Montana Tech, a top-ranked engineering university, anchors the local economy and keeps the city intellectually active. Discovery Ski Area is a short drive away. The Jefferson, Boulder, and Big Hole rivers offer world-class fly fishing. The surrounding landscape is raw Rocky Mountain wilderness that goes on for hundreds of miles. And it's all available for prices that remind you of what America used to cost. A city with a genuine soul in the genuine mountains for the price of a pickup truck. If there's a better deal in the American West right now, we haven't found it. 18 towns, 18 places where the mountains are real, the air is clean, and the prices haven't caught up to the scenery yet. Now, a disclaimer that matters: cheap housing doesn't exist in a vacuum. And most of these towns faced economic hardship that created the affordability you see now. Remote work changed the math for a lot of people. And if you have the flexibility to work from anywhere, these places deserve a serious look before the rest of the internet catches up. Drop the town you'd most want to live in the comments. And if you think we missed one, you're probably right. Tell us. See you in the next one.